Hello, everyone. My name's Jerry Hoffman, the owner of Springfield Raceway, a quarter-mile clay oval located in Springfield, Missouri. We're sitting on a back straightaway right here at my old dirt track. It's supposed to be like 64 degrees today, but I think it's like 39, wouldn't you guys say?
Like that?
It's kind of chilly. I got a couple of buddies here. I got local racer Justin Wells, who drove a late model for years. He's got 400 feature wins, over 15 track championships. He was a two-time IMCA Dirt Late Model Championship and champion in 03 and 04, and I'm glad to have him here today.
Thank you, Jerry.
Over on the left, I got Ernie Leftwich. And Ernie Leftwich, he said he's drove a race car before, but he's never drove competitively. But in my opinion, Ernie's probably one of the super fans of any dirt track you could have, because he is an avid dirt track fan. Ernie was the flagman of MLRA. He was an MLRA tech official. He was an MLRA official, and he was the MLRA series director. So, Ernie, I want to thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate it.
Glad to have you. We're going to take all you guys at home, as you're sitting there listening, get off your TikTok, get off your Facebook, put everything down. If you're sitting in your underwear, keep them on. We're going to take you back to 1989. As you guys think about 1989, that don't seem like that long ago. That was 36 years ago. And you think about dates, the first date I can even think about anybody talk about was like 1814. You know that old song?
1814.
In 1814, we took a little trip along the bloody, what was that?
Down the mighty Mississippi.
Down the mighty Mississippi. Took a little bacon and we took a little beans. We're not going to do no fight today, but I'm just establishing the dates, 1814. And then you think about now you got Taylor Sheridan, that Yellowstone guy. He's documented 1883 and 1923. So we're going to set the stage here for 1989. I think about 1989, and I can remember 1989, what I was doing. I was a junior in high school, and all I give a crap about doing was going to the races, working on a race car, playing football, eating tacos, and I knew someday I was going to race. Justin, what was you doing in 1989?
1989, I was a sixth grader, 12 years old, and all I could dream of was getting to go to Mooneyham Speedway on a Sunday night. And I was counting down the days. After we raced Sunday night, we had 6 more till we got right back there again, and just dreaming of getting to see the local guys.
So you was going to the races by yourself or with your dad, or?
Well, that's Ken Essary here was a neighbor, so we got to watch him in all the specials. But we owned a salvage yard at the time, and of course business was always busy and not much time. So I convinced my dad to build this new class that Randy Mooneyham had started. Was called Bombers. So we took an old Chevelle, well I did, and just pretty much just threw everything out of it, and we put an old motor in it and ran it. But I begged him to do that, and that's how we got started in the racing, Jerry.
So you got started. You was 12 years old, right?
12 years old,
12 years old. Ernie, what were you doing in 19? Do you remember what you was doing in 1989?
Vaguely.
How old was you?
I was 12 and in the 6th grade as well. Same thing. Saturday nights, Nevada Speedway couldn't get there quick enough. I was telling a story a little bit ago about sitting there in math class. My mom had bought me 10 of those pink erasers that looked like a wedge late model, and I'd put car numbers on the side of them in math class, race them around my desk, and I'd get in trouble, get my hand smacked, or get the erasers taken from me, and Mom would have to spend a little more money to buy me 10 more erasers. So,
I bet your eraser had X Junior on it, right?
You're right.
Right here, Ron Bolin fan, right here.
Yep. That was my childhood hero growing up, is the X Junior Ron Bolin car. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So they're 12 years old. I'm 16 years old. What grade was you guys in?
Sixth.
6th grade. I was a junior in high school. So you got to think about what grade you was in. How old was you back then? Come on, we want everybody to think about 1989. I went back and did a little Google search because I'm an internet guy and I can be a doctor on the internet or a lawyer on the internet. We can all use the internet these days. I went looking at prices of stuff in 1989. A gallon of gas was 97 cents. A dozen of eggs was 78 cents. A gallon of milk was $2.62. A loaf of bread was 67 cents. And a minimum wage was $3.35. Did you guys ever work for $3.35?
No way.
You ever work for free?
Oh, yeah.
Work for free.
Race car.
Right now, you couldn't even get anybody that, I don't know, you can get none for $3.35. 1989, Ronald Reagan was our president, succeeding to, his term was done, and George Bush became president. Right now in 2024, as we're documenting history, Donald Trump is our president, and we don't need to talk no more politics. What are you laughing at, Randy?
Hey, I'm good.
That's good. Now let's talk about, I was going to talk about the price of toilet paper, but I forgot to Google search it because toilet paper wasn't that real of a high item until COVID, but I don't know what toilet paper costs then and now, but it was a lot cheaper. Let's talk about some dirt late model stuff and the price of things back then. Justin, you're a racer and you know what things cost. Can you remember in 1989? The motor that went to a late model, what the motor cost and what was the motor choice in our area in the Midwest?
Well, you just had to say a couple initials in this part of the country, or basically any national scene was RB, Russell Baker. And he was kind of the pioneer of a lot of motors. But back then, if you had a 410 cubic inch motor, you had the premier motor. And been a 23-degree motor like what had been in your Chevy pickup that you drove to the races. It'd been the same configuration. If you was really, really lucky and had you won the lottery back then, you could have aluminum block. But most of them was steel block back in the day. And I remember a friend buying a motor just a couple years later, and he said he gave $25,000 for that motor a few years later, and he said he went out and puked because it blew up in a few laps. But I'd say back in '89, around if you had a Russell Baker or a Clements motor, it would have probably been $20,000.
So around 15 to 20,000.
15 to 20,000.
I called some drivers, some late model drivers, and that's what they said. They couldn't remember back then, but they thought around 15,000 or so. Yeah. And that was a steel block with aluminum heads, right?
Yes.
Aluminum 23-degree heads. And he talked to Russell, but back then you didn't have to say Russell Baker racing engines. If you said Russell Baker, that's all you had to say. And they had them fancy valve covers.
Well, yeah, nobody had aluminum valve covers, and it had his name in it, and really, really nice and neat.
Yeah, and you used to get these old factory stock guys, these modified guys that would have this old motor that they didn't have $500 in and put a set of high-dollar Russell Baker valve covers on them. Yeah. So if you was back in the day, around 1989, if you was a wife or a girlfriend, a fiance or whatever, and you heard the name Russell Baker, you didn't have to know no more than that. That was a racing engine, and you knew it was probably high dollar. A quick note, I talked to Al Perky on the way here, and Al said he was young in 1989. I can't remember how old he told me, but he was young. He's just getting into racing, and he was on Russell's rental program. He said he couldn't afford a Russell Baker, but he said he was on his rental program for 30%.
30% of the win.
And he said he was very fortunate to have that.
So if a race paid $2,000 and he won it, it cost him $600 that night.
Times 30, Just
for that rental of that motor
just that night. It was 30%. And I think of one guy we're talking about some history. Remember old Charlie? Yeah. If you said Russell Baker, I don't know if Charlie's still alive or...
No, I don't think so.
Charlie's probably passed away, but Charlie was like Russell's right-hand man, wouldn't you say? I think Charlie was his right-hand man and left-hand man. He was both, because Charlie was a big part of Russell Baker. So we got about what the motors cost. And back then, everybody had what they had for transmission back then? Was it just a regular Burt? Was a big deal back then, wasn't it?
Well, Burt was a big thing right then, but a lot of people still had your 3-speeds or your Muncies. Or there's a few guys that were running the automatics, the Power Glides.
In 1989, they still had that.
Yeah. When I started helping Kenneth in 92, I think it was 91, 92, one car still had a mini clutch and a Muncie 4-speed.
I think mini clutches should be banned. Everybody should run a Burger brand. It don't matter what it is, you should run a Burger brand.
Quick change rear ends and Burt's is the only way.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's in a mini stock.
Well, yeah, we're getting to modern time. Ernie, you can think back to 1989. We talked about the motors. Let's talk about chassis. In the Midwest, starting with 1989, what do you think? What, in your opinion, was one of the premier chassis that was ran around the area here?
Yeah, just from a little research, I would say it was a Shaw car, Larry Shaw. And then, a little more research on the cost of those chassis. I think we all concluded it was going to be around $14,000 for a new chassis.
Yeah, I talked to him, Danny Felker, and I talked to him, Shaw down there, or Kevin Shaw, and he couldn't remember. He said thought around $14,000. But yeah, I agree with you. Wouldn't you say Shaw was in 1989 Shaw, because you had American made from Fred King days, American made in Joplin hadn't started yet because Danny Felker started FRP chassis in 89. Was it 91?
91.
91, yeah. 91 they started that though. So in 89 you had your Shaws. I talked to Moyer. Moyer couldn't really remember, but Moyer said he almost positive he was still in the Shaw. So he hadn't had the Rayburn swing arms yet, and then went to the long Rayburn swing arms. So I think we could say Shaw and a few American maids, and GRT started like 84. So there was a few GRTs starting to get some good drivers in them then, and starting to travel around the Midwest in the late model series and stuff. We've kind of set the stage here about 1989, what was going in our lives, what's going on in your lives. You guys have put your TikTok down and your Facebook down still, and you're sitting on the edge of your seat, and you're paying real good attention to us today. We got two guys here, one guy on my left, one guy on my right. And in 1989, I don't know if they had a vision, I don't know if they have a dream, or if they had a nightmare. But in 1989, they had a decision to start something. It was called the Midwest Late Model Racing Association, MLRA. And like I say, I can remember it. I can remember when the MLRA had come to town, and it was a big deal. It was what the World of Outlaws are today, you know what I mean? We've got Kenny Essary over here on my right. We got Randy Mooneyham over on my left, and we're just going to have a roundtable discussion to talk to these guys to document our history as time passes by. And I got one question to start, then it's just a free-for-all. What in the hell were you guys thinking? In 1989, what was going on? Was there any other late model series out there? The floor is your guys's.
Not really. We had Monette was running. We were doing pretty well, and I-44 was running. Bill Willard had I-44 in Bolivar, and he wanted to go to the asphalt. And Kenneth and I both knew we had a whole bunch of really good dirt racers. I mean, really good. And so, as usual, he's the one talked me into going to Monette in 1980, and then he come and hollered at me again, talked me into having the MLRA.
So it was your idea?
Right. Well, Randy had called, and he said, I don't know what we're going to do. He said, I'm afraid I'm stuck out here by myself, the only dirt track in the area. And I had tried running asphalt at the fairgrounds, and it was just too expensive for my pocketbook. And I said, well, why don't you just start your own series? And Randy said, well, he thought about it, and he said, if you'll help me here, we'll see what we can do. I don't know, that was probably the middle of the week, and on a Sunday morning, Randy came down, we sat at the table and discussed it and talked about it and came up with MLRA. I think Randy came up with the name MLRA, and
did you Google that, or how'd you come up with MLRA?
I can't even Google today, so why would I Google it then?
You didn't have a phone back then, did you?
No, didn't have cell phones.
I was only 16. I didn't have one either. So you come with MLRA. Did you write it down on paper? Did you ask your wife? Did you go out and talk to the cows? Or
well, the big series, and it kind of went downhill then, was NDRA.
Yep.
NDRA.
Yep.
And we didn't want to be a national series. We wanted to be local within, I think we talked about if we could stay within 4 or 5 hours of Monette, which we pretty well did. There were plenty of dirt tracks, and so I just said, well, Midwest, I don't know.
Did you write it down on paper, though? Can you remember or not?
Still can't write,
sir.
Still can't write very good. But no, we just, I
That's
think
cool.
Dwayne,
I didn't know that.
Dwayne Johnson I talked to him some. He was our flagman, and he might have had that same idea as we had. So that's what we called it, and it stuck.
So you're sitting at the table in 88 or 98 to start this. You're sitting at your house, right?
Right.
The kitchen table.
It was in the winter between 88 and 89.
Yeah.
Okay. You're sitting at the kitchen table, and I got something. I'm going to tell you something. I talked to somebody's daughter, and I'm not going to tell you whose daughter. You just have to figure it out because it's at your house. And you can't discipline her now or anything, okay? Because the statute of limitations is over.
It's over.
How old's your daughter now?
79 would be, 45?
45. Karen,
No, she's 40.
Karen's somewhere around 48 years old.
49.
Sorry to put you on the
That's
spot.
close.
I forgot.
That's
I can't remember.
close.
She's 75.
Yeah.
She's 75. She's 49.
Well, I was talking to Karen this week, and I tried to get a picture of you because I don't have any of you. And I wanted her to use a good one because if somebody's using a picture of me, I want to use a good one of me.
They didn't make one for me.
I told her to pick it out. That way, if you don't like it, it's on her. And she said, what's this all about? And I said, well, Justin had this idea to honor the founding fathers of MLRA, and your dad was one of the founding fathers. And she sat there and listened to me. Of course, Randy, too. They're together. And I said, I just need a picture, and we'll have a press release out here soon. We talked to Ernie, and Ernie wanted to still do it. And she said, Jerry, I remember that. I said, you remember 1989? She goes, I remember. She said, I remember the conversation at the kitchen table when they were talking about it. She said I was eavesdropping. I said, so your dad don't know you was listening? Nope, don't know I was listening. I said, what'd you hear? You tell me. She said, I heard him talking about how much money it's going to take to start the MLRA. I said, what'd they say? She told me, but I'm going to ask you if you guys remember what your daughter heard as she was eavesdropping. You can't punish her now, okay? Still get her good Christmas, but how much money did it take to start MLRA? That's a good question.
Couldn't been very much because I didn't have
Was
any.
you rich?
Oh, yeah. No.
You was working at the car lot, right?
I was selling cars.
You were selling cars.
And then it's running Monette. And I had been helping Bill at Lebanon and Bolivar. So
And you weren't real rich. I mean, you just average worker, hard worker. Did you have cattle back then?
yes, sir.
You had cattle
Always
at the
had
home
cattle.
there?
Yeah.
Did you rent land too, or is it right there
No,
at 50
just,
acres?
just the 40 acres.
40 acres,
Yeah.
that's close, 10 off.
Yeah.
So you wasn't rich. You was owning a racetrack. You owned a racetrack then, or was you renting it?
No, I was buying it.
You was buying it,
bought
actually had a
yeah.
payment.
Yeah.
Working at the car lot. And Kenny, what were you doing? Were you the money man? Was you rich?
No, we didn't put a lot of money in it.
No.
No, I was milking cows and farming and
And racing.
And you know, back then it didn't cost nearly as much to race because the most I ever had in a motor was $10,000, and I couldn't race that motor.
Did you build your own motor?
Yeah, we built our own motors. This was an Earl Gertie motor that I had $10,000 in, and I couldn't race it. It was just I was afraid of blowing it up.
So who would you have do your machine work?
Gene Snyder did most of our machine work.
Here in Springfield?
Yeah.
Okay, now, you guys remember, I know how much money you guys put up because I know what the gossip session was about. You guys don't remember how much money you put
Yeah,
up?
I know how much we put up, and she was wrong.
She was wrong. Okay.
She was wrong.
Okay.
Well, how
What's
much
she,
was
what's
it?
she hear
We
through the
put up-
walls?
We put up $500 a piece.
I was going to
shoot.
say, if it's
She
much
was wrong.
over that,
That's
I
what
was
I tell you
out.
about gospel. You know what I heard? And I heard it from Karen. I can document it. She heard you guys put up $5,000 a piece.
No.
You put up 5,000. You
No.
put up 5,000.
No.
That's what she heard. So your daughter thought you guys was rich.
Well, here's the deal. We didn't, like, the crew went, we didn't have headsets. We ran the show, you know, back in the day, the flagman made all the calls and ran the show. We had headsets, nothing like that. Kenneth towed his car to races. I hauled my wife and the crew in an old van, and we got our T-shirt guy,
Harold Jenkins.
And we had a little van for them to take T-shirts in, and that was it. There wasn't no big haulers or toters. Or,
Billy Moyer was the first one to have a true NASCAR style hauler, big yellow with, and it's on
yeah.
Racing
Yeah.
Junk right now.
yeah.
Okay,
has
is
all the is a big, I think it's a Freightliner back then, but yellow and red stripes. But
Yeah,
Randy,
it is right.
the, you was talking about there was no timing and scoring.
No.
There was no headsets.
No.
Kevin Stalker, your scorer,
Kevin
would
scored.
write
Yep.
it down and
Yeah.
he'd run it down
Yeah.
to Ricky Bear.
Had one
Yeah.
score?
Well,
Oh, we had two.
We had
Two
two.
scores.
Part-time Dwayne Johnson's wife helped, and
Julie.
Julie. Yeah, Julie helped. We had two scores, one flag, two track stewards, Ray Dean and Rick Guthrie. Both good guys.
Yep.
Rick Guthrie loved racing. Everybody knows
Oh,
that.
Guthrie loved it.
Yep.
And then Dwayne flagged it, and we get to tracks like, say, Jeff City or the half mile at Sedalia or the mile at Sedalia. Then I would place them around the track, and we'd have hand signals on maybe a yellow, or if Dwayne had a dark spot he couldn't see, then we'd holler, have a signal, throw the yellow or red. But that's the way you done it then.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember where your first race was in 1989?
Skokie, Oklahoma, Thunderbird Speedway.
Muskogee, Oklahoma. I can tell you the exact date with my glasses on. April 21st, 1989, Thunderbird Speedway, Muskogee, Oklahoma. And you know who won?
Yep,
Larry Phillips won.
Larry Phillips won.
Larry Phillips.
Larry Phillips won her.
He won the first two.
Yep, you're right. Started off April 21st at Thunderbird. Larry Phillips won. Then the next one was, you guys had a back-to-back there. April 22nd, you went right to Siloam Springs, West Siloam Springs,
Yeah.
Arkansas.
We-
West Siloam, Oklahoma. Phillips won it too.
What we did, Jerry, and it fit both our schedules, and it's fit Kenneth farming and me selling cars. We ran one weekend a month, and ran three. We'd ran the full weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it made it easier on us. It made it easier on the guys who traveled.
Yeah.
because they still wanted to race at Monette weekly, and they ran for points. And
So you could get off work because of you're working at the car dealership.
Well, we had another partner in a little bit, Charles Lipscomb, and he owned the car dealership. And the deal was, I cut him in on the deal a little bit, and he let me off on weekends.
Had a little pool with the owner, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I had to sell a lot of cars.
Know somebody, yeah.
Yeah.
And Kenny, you was milking, right? So
Yes.
who would take care of the cattle when you'd go leave for a weekend to do the series?
My wife stayed there and took care of the cows and the boys, and you know, she and our family's the only one that made it possible for me to get to race.
Yeah.
And you know, I'll never be able to thank them enough.
And you had a lot of family too, right, Randy?
Oh yeah, I had a lot of brothers and son-in-laws and brother-in-laws and nephews, and a lot of them raced for me over the years. And my kids all helped me on the weekly shows. And now they didn't travel with me. Linda traveled, and Radine and Janet. Linda checked the cars in, and we did her. You know what her favorite part was? We got to, and you know, Ernie, you know, they draw numbers. They try to cheat.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to stop this crap. So we got one of them little round bingo deals.
Yep.
And every driver stood at the driver's meeting, and then if it was Billy Moyer's turn, he stood right there, and she rode the bingo ball out, and he got what he got. It was bulletproof.
And then people started bringing bingo balls to the
Yeah.
draw,
Yeah, oh,
and you had
yeah.
4 or 5 number 18s.
There's a way around
There's a
everything.
way around.
But
That's smart, though.
Yeah.
That's smart. I'll tell you a pretty neat little story here I'm going to share with you guys. I called Al Perky on the way up here as he come to the Turkey Bowl last week, and 2 weeks ago, I've lost track of time. And I called him on the way up here, and I told him what we was doing and talked to him. I said, you remember 1989? He goes, sure do. First year MLRA, he said.
Yep.
I go, did you win any races that year? And he said, I sure did. I won 1-1 at Siloam Springs, Arkansas. Siloam Springs, Oklahoma, I guess is what it's called. Flint Creek Speed. What's it now called? Arrowhead Speedway.
Arrowhead.
But he said, I drew number 75. I started last row of the heat race, won it, started front row of the feature, and won. And you should have heard the enthusiasm he was telling me about that race.
Yeah.
He said, I want you to tell everybody. I said, we might talk about that on our show. He said, you be sure and tell everybody that Phillips was there and Moyer was there both, and Kenny Essary run second.
But you know,
Yeah.
that's the good thing about MLRA in this time frame, because it gave, I mean, Al Perky's a great racer, great guy, and it gave him a place to start.
Yep.
Same way
Yeah.
with Wendell Wallace and Tony Carden and Rex McCroskey and Terry Phillips, Leslie, my son, and
Bill Fry.
Bill Fry,
Yep.
and we had a following that was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
That series was stacked. It was. I tell you, if you compare it to today, we probably had a more balanced, competitive series, and we had about 15 hot dogs in it.
Agreed. Yes.
I mean, fast race
Yeah.
cars.
Yeah.
We
We're
would have 60 cars or better at.
How many was at the first race? Do you remember?
I don't
how many
remember at
cars?
the first race.
I think we were around 50, 45 to 50.
Really? Yeah.
And
Man.
but we were running on passing points because
Yeah.
we didn't have electronic scoring back then. So we had to come up with a way to
Yeah.
get, to qualify the cars, and passing points was about the alternative. Well, with 60 cars in the field, you might have 3 guys with the same number of points.
Yeah.
And then they'd win their heat race and end up in the B, and then they didn't understand why they was in the B.
Right.
Because you have so many ties with that many cars.
Yeah.
But finally it all worked out, and we had a great bunch of guys running with us, and everybody got along good for the most part. And
Have any good fights? Were there any fights, Randy? He was in charge of it all. He was racing. So he had to be diplomatically correct and swing from both sides of the fence.
Okay,
I'm not saying he was bisexual or anything like that.
Yeah.
But he had to step on thin ice. Where you was the king doodle. You was the head cheese. You was the law.
I was the one got in a fight, I guess.
Oh, you didn't get in the fight? Oh, that sucked.
I was a small one down there at Fayetteville, but anyway, that was. But that's it happened, and
One
but-
fight the first year at Fayetteville, that's it.
no, it's
No.
like the fifth or sixth year,
It was when?
about 94, I think.
Oh, so you had no fights the
93.
first year.
Oh, we didn't. We had drivers fight as far as my little scuffle was.
You got to a scuffle in 94.
Well, yeah.
93, I think it
93.
was.
Oh, you remember it. Did you start it?
No, I didn't start it. I was we were racing.
They were on the track.
Oh,
He had more of an audience than we did.
well, that would suck.
yeah,
Hey, me
that
owning a
sucked.
racetrack, that sucked getting in a fight.
I've been there a few times.
That just wouldn't be good for me or anybody
Yeah.
around.
But I want to go back to the quality of cars, and I can name people like Larry Phillips and Ken Essary and Bill Fry and Terry and Leslie and Rex McCroskey and Denny Felker, and then I can throw in Willie Kraft, and I can throw in Eddie Pace,
Tony Carden.
Did
Did Tommy Joe Poucher run any of
Tommy
them?
Joe
Yeah.
Poucher,
Yes.
Wayne Brooks.
Did Roger Hines run any of them, or is he
He had quit,
fading out a little
and he
bit?
quit.
Who?
Roger Hines.
I think he had
Roger
quit.
was,
TP4, remember that? Truck
Yeah.
Power 4.
yeah.
He was quitting by then, I think.
I think he was quitting,
Yeah. Bill Street was in it.
Yep.
Daryl Mooneyham, Johnny Bone Sr., then Johnny Bone Jr.
Yeah.
I mean, just lots.
Man, I'm telling you, when MLR would come to town, it was just like the radio, your
Yeah.
KTTS radio commercial.
Oh, yeah.
They'd always
It's crazy.
get beefed up, had a little extra time, big names. The atmosphere, man. I mean, I can remember like it was yesterday. And the people I've talked to about it, like Al and
Yeah.
Danny Felker and,
Yeah, but-
talked to some flagmen, Mike Striegel and Sism. They just remember those days back then. It's pretty cool to hear the enthusiasm from them.
Of course, we had Roger Chesum racing with us. at
Yeah,
that time.
Roger.
And
Them first few years at Monette, it was just about a guaranteed sellout. I mean, it was full.
What was the entry fee back then?
Oh, hell, 20. What was the pit pass then? 20?
I bet it was
think so.
15. 15 or 20.
15 or 20.
Yeah.
So what was the driver entry fee for the race?
Entry fee was $100.
So $100 entry
It was
fee.
$100, but that's what we operated on.
It was 100 for a non-qualifier, wasn't it? I mean, for a non-member, and a member was a little less.
Could have been.
I think so. I think
but,
it was.
But we also paid to be feature out of our
Right.
entry fees.
Yep.
And what did
So-
pay to win?
2,000.
2,000.
2,000 to win, probably 200-300 to start, or do you remember?
No, it was,
200.
was it 2? I
200
thought,
to
okay.
start, 2,000
Yeah.
to win, 10% of
Yeah.
the win.
But like Kenneth said a while ago, tires are $80 or $90.
Yeah, and you guys start on, I thought you started on a D55.
No,
No,
But you
McQuarrie.
start on a McCrary, Al told me. It was
G4.
what they called the
40.
D40 or something
No.
like that.
yeah.
No, the D4.
It was named 2 or 3 different names or whatever. What did you say it was?
The D40 is a Hoosier. It's a GF4.
GF4.
Yeah. I remember because I was telling Kenneth the story at West Plains one night. They're all lined up, and Mike Edwards announced the starters. So I took my durometer and popped everybody's left rear tire. And one of my favorite racers was Skip Thompson. I popped that tire, and the durometer said like 30. I looked at it real strong. Skip, listen, Skip, I like you. You go to the pits, change that tire, and come back, and I'll still let you race.
He made him change it, huh?
Well, yeah, he was
You
illegal.
think he just drove over something on the track, or you think he tire doped it?
No, it was a G2 instead of a G4.
Whole different
A
tire.
whole different tire.
Oh,
Now,
shoot.
you know a racer wouldn't do that.
No. I wonder how it got there.
I think he put it on. We were trying to decide. We think maybe Gene Snyder owned the car that year. And
We kept having flats. Of course,
Yeah.
back then, like always, we had American Racer was really good to work with us. Joe Jacobs was over American Racer at that time. And we talked to him about putting some extra rubber on the tires, in which he put 40 more thousandths worth of overlay on the tire before the tread, and pretty much stopped our flats. Plus, after they did this, why a lot of guys that were running on a real limited budget could extra groove that tire a little bit deeper, and we had a place to go with our old tires and help them out too. So
And you guys talked to Hoosier on that, or was that McCrary?
that
that was McQuarrie.
That was McQuarrie.
Yeah.
American Racer.
American Racer. You asked him to add something to the rubber, and they did it, and it helped your
Yes.
drivers out. Yeah. Wonder if that could be done today.
I don't think
That
so.
needs to be.
You don't think that could be done today? I'm not calling nobody out, but just open letter, maybe somebody could do that in the late model world to save a guy a little bit of money,
Yeah.
Hell, there'd be $400 if they added anything to them.
we don't need to be dogging on nobody here. We're
I'm not
happy-
calling out any names.
Randy.
Nowhere.
Randy, what was your envision? What was your goal with the MLRA? What did you envision the MLRA in the future?
Well, I think it's just, to build late models. I was a late model guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I ran super stocks and bombers, and modifieds, but I love late model racing, and that's what I like to do. And I mean, I like to do it all, but I mean, everybody knew. I even got accused of being a late model guy, and I'd say, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
So anyway, I like to see it grow. I liked, we did some things, and Kenneth and I was on the same page on that, like tire rule, one tire.
Yep.
We could load up and go run the mile at Sedalia, and we all on the same tire. You could go up there and with your open trailer and have 2 spares.
Yep.
And you could race the whole weekend with us on about 6 tires.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem today is we don't have that. And here's another guy, and I didn't like time trials. I still don't. I think I understand we have trouble, but if you instead of watching the John Deeres redo the track all the time, not whatever you do, and I'm not knocking anybody that does it.
Yep.
Instead of timing in, run an 8-lap heat, draw in, run passing points, run a 12-lap heat.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, if you do draw toward the back, you got 4 more laps to get there.
Gotcha, yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah.
And time trials ain't all bad.
I do miss the passing point days. I'll be honest with you there.
Yeah.
Yeah, just...
Well, Randy, Kenneth, I got a question for you, and I've thought about a lot. In '89, if Monette would have been paved and MLRA wouldn't have been thought of, where do you think racing would have stood today? What would we see? Kenneth, Randy?
You see where your asphalt tracks are at now?
Kind of that.
Was that a discussion?
It never was. No.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't with me because I had already told Bill. Number one, I can't afford to buy the asphalt.
Yeah.
And number two, I like dirt racing. I was a dirt racing guy, and I think it goes back when I started at Monette in '80. You know, I had people like Kenneth supported me every week. I had Roger Chisholm. I had Bill Street and Johnny Bone and Darrell and Ray
McCroskey.
Felker, Rex McCroskey. Well, actually, first year Rex was in the sportsman class.
Limited late models.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can read you a list of names in that class.
Yeah.
Him and
That was a tough
Merritt
class.
and
And
Bill
Watson.
Fry and Watson. Oh, my
Yeah.
God. Eddie Potts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But our late model class, they was there every week.
Vaught,
Very,
Vaught was in that class, wasn't
Very
he?
Vaught.
Darrell Moore, all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was,
Some of them like to fight more than they like to race.
Yeah, they like to, yeah.
But anyway, these guys support me. We got that weekly show built up, and you can ask Kenneth. You know, we got to film the house on weekly shows, and Ferris was down at Branson at 65. Neville was still at Bolivar. Neville Neal. The fairgrounds was kind of off and on. They hit and miss trying to keep it going, but so you know, if it's just glad to see these guys had somewhere to run and late model racing grow, and it did, and you know, it's
So that first year, sorry to interrupt you, but that first year, was it when you guys decided to do this, you and Kenny, when you started calling racetracks to try to get a schedule for '89, was it difficult to get that?
Put it on the internet.
yeah,
Well, yeah.
put it on-
Wasn't
yeah.
the internet?
Yeah.
Didn't have no internet back in,
I
did
mean,
you?
you
We
called
actually-
Muskogee. Did they jump right on it
Yeah,
then?
Muskogee jumped right. We actually had a meeting at the Pizza Hut in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Remember that, Ken? I think Muskogee guys were there. Jerry DeWitt from West Siloam came. Maybe Joe
Jason
Clay.
Harlan.
Cecil Harlan, Fort
It's
Smith.
Fort Smith, yeah.
Yeah, we got to go there. And,
Was that Bill Ball in '89 there?
They were building.
They were building. We scheduled them late in the year.
Okay.
So they-
Because I seen there was multiple races
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, later on we got the the first race we went to West Plains. I think we had 54 cars. We got all the Iowa cars like Ray Gus Jr. and there was
Kosiskis, did they come down?
Kaziski's, Don Hoffman, Kevin Gundaker was there, along with
Gary
all
Webb?
Yeah.
Webb, and that was with all the cars I've been talking about.
Yeah.
And West Plains was
On top of that
literally
group.
literally packed. So I go in there to get our money, and I'd already paid $2,000 to win, $200 to start, and Bill Ball says we need to pay more money. And I said, well, I've already paid him. See, we would write the checks, then he would write me one check. We need to pay more money, Randy. This made way too much money. So that's when we started the Twin 40s, and I think them paid $3,000 or $4,000 to win. And we'd run 40 laps, invert part of the field, and then run 40 more.
Really?
So
So the first year would you guys say MLRA was profitable to you guys? Did it profit, or do you guys care?
No, it was a profit, but it didn't matter how big the crowds was. We got paid on how many cars
Entries,
we had.
yeah. Entry
So did you have a
fees.
sanction fee, or you just got the?
No, I
you
didn't
just
have.
got
We
the
didn't have
entry
sanction
fee.
fee.
So if you had 50 cars, you got $5,000.
But we also had to pay the B feature out of that.
Yeah.
So
And the help.
and the help.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
And
what people-
when we were talking here on about Rex McCroskey, I think was still in a
Sportsman.
sportsman at that time, or
Yeah.
and Bill Fry, a lot of good drivers, and when Randy and I were talking there at the kitchen table, he said, he said, I've got all these other classes of cars that if I go asphalt, where are they going to go?
yeah.
I mean, he was also thinking of the lower classes.
Yeah.
And excuse me, and so we, it turned out that Bill Fry and Rex McCroskey, Wendell Wallace, look at the late model racers that they turned out to be.
Oh yeah. I mean, these guys was Have a Tampa.
Yeah.
I can't imagine in '89, in a few short years, Bill Fry's in a late model. Rex McCroskey gets into a late model.
Yeah.
Terry Phillips right here in Springfield, Missouri. These guys right here, because of the inception of MLRA, what came along a little later was Have a Tampa series.
Right.
Wendell Wallace had to Have a Tampa series won.
Yeah.
And like 10 laps to go, he broke an axle on the very last night. And I truly believe you wouldn't seen McCroskey, Fry, Wendell, all those guys if it wasn't for these two guys right here.
yeah.
Yeah.
As you look back in time, and they always talk about hindsight. As you two look back now, is there anything you'd have done different the first year, or just everything went pretty good? Is there anything you wish you'd have changed the first year of opening in 1989?
I don't know, Kenneth. I don't have a whole lot of regrets. I think for that period of time, we obviously done pretty well because they Donald Watson started that series down south off of us. Like I said, we go to Granite City on the 5/8 mile, and Tom Helfrich, he's a big UMP guy, and he comes to race. He said, I just can't believe you're making all these guys run on one tire. And I said, well, it's a whole lot better race when everybody's on the same tire. So I think we got our name out. One thing I was proud of is we got the state fair races 2 or 3 or 4
At
years in a
Sedalia.
row. At Sedalia.
On the mile.
I think we were one of the last runs to run on the mile.
On the mile. I remember I was there.
Yeah. I was there because
I know you was there.
Daryl's driving for me, and he run third coming down the front straightaway, get the checkered, and blew up. So
It was hot, too.
Yeah.
Boy, it
Randy,
was
who
hot.
won that race?
Moyer.
Moyer won it.
Yeah.
Moyer's good on them big tracks.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I remember because John Felker kept telling me, put them gears in upside down.
Yeah.
You always tried to put the quick change gears in. Go the mile, you had to put them in upside down.
Yep.
Well, Les Essary said it was so fast on the mile, you could literally draft with a dirt car. You could slow the car down in front of you with your brakes and slingshot them.
I'd
That's
say
how
it's
fast
true.
it was.
I bet that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
another quick question. If you guys have anything, just chime in. If you owned a series today, what would you change? I mean, if you owned just any late model series, what's something that you, in your opinion, you see is being done wrong, and what would you change? The first thing if you bought a series.
Go ahead, Ken.
Oh, I don't know. I'd sure have my own tire. Our tire had MLRA on it. It's stamped in the tire, and they were a few that tried to duplicate this stamp, and probably maybe got a buy with it at the time or two. But and then other tracks like West Plains and Joplin and some of the other tracks were on this same tire, so our racers could travel from track to track. Batesville, it's all on the same tire, so everybody didn't have to go there and buy different tires to run the series or their weekly races or whatever it was. So I would cut the tire cost down for sure.
What would you do, Randy?
I'd cut the tire costs down. I'm probably old school. I'd drop the qualifying. I'd go back to a passing point system and because see, we're qualifying now and then running the 8-lap heat. Well, you're kind of cheating your spectator there on the amount of laps he gets to see. So draw him in, and big deal if Justin Wells starts on the back. You got 12 laps instead of 8 to pass him.
Yeah.
And I still think people like
And
to
you're
see
running later
passing.
in the day.
Run later in the day.
You
You're
see
not-
more quality passes.
And you're not wearing your track out when you qualify. Because everybody is going to hit that. Everybody knows where the fast line is when they go out to qualify.
Yeah.
So I would do that. And I'm not an expert on these shocks, but it appears it's got real pricey. And for a regional series, now the national series maybe so, and I think if you got a regional series, run your own rules and don't worry about World Outlaws. Don't worry about Lucas Oil. And I think that's what we did. We set our own rules, our own tires, our own passing points, and we made it work. And we didn't we didn't have to cater to anybody. We just, and here's another, after first year or two, it was easy to get a schedule.
Yeah.
Wasn't it, Ken?
I missed it. What?
After the first couple of years, it was easy to get a schedule.
And yes.
Tracks were the one
Tracks
show.
were- Tracks
Yeah,
wanted
Calling
you
bad.
guys.
you.
Yeah.
They were calling you.
Yeah,
You
they
guys
did.
had a good show to bring to
Yeah.
town.
Well,
Yeah.
we tried.
And then we worked hard to get sponsors,
Yeah, well, Kenneth done all the sponsors. He's
and,
good at that.
For that day, our point fund was pretty good for the day that it, at that time, I think it paid, the last year that I had it, paid 10,000 to win the points, which
That's pretty good.
Pretty good.
For 89,
For
I
89.
think.
Did you guys have a title sponsor in 1989?
Oh, I had that.
I think it was, yes, we had Lenati Cams.
Yeah.
Yep. I
And
remember that.
One year we had U.S. Tobacco.
Yes.
We had the green uniform, U.S. Tobacco, and then the next year Congress come in, they had to stop it.
But
Yeah.
Joe Lenati, I explained this to him what we were doing, and actually Dale Browning was running the business for Joe Lenati, and he liked it, and he called me. I talked to him in Daytona at the PRI show, and he called me towards the middle of the week, and he said, I think we can help you a little bit. He said, would $10,000 help you out? My goodness, at that in '89,
A lot of money then.
that was a lot of money.
That's a
Yeah.
lot of commission on used cars for Randy sales. That's a lot of dairy cows for you to milk.
Yeah.
So anyway, Lenati was really good to us. U.S. Tobacco was good to us. Then I had CFI, Contract Freighters
Yep.
out of Joplin,
Remember that?
for a sponsor, a title sponsor, and we were lucky to have a lot of contingency sponsors, which are good. It helped the racers out. It might not be all in money, but if it was in a tire or if it was in whatever, it really helps.
Question here. It's off the record. We won't tell nobody. Just between me and you. What was your favorite track to go to on the MLRA series?
Probably
Randy's
Mooneyham.
not here now.
Probably Mooneyham.
Randy's not here. We're not
Mooneyham was my favorite track, no
Well,
doubt
hell-
about it.
Hell,
That's
he-
why you guys got along so good.
Hell, he drove it like he owned it.
Oh.
Every time we go there, he'd win. Well, you let that damn Essary win at Monet.
What was your favorite, Randy, other than Monette, what was your favorite track to go to put on a show?
Probably, I really liked Thunderbird, but probably my favorite was Capital City at Holt Summit, north of
Jefferson
Jefferson.
City, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I never did go there.
Big 03. It's a lot like the old Bolivar track, wasn't it, Ken?
Yeah, it was a nice track.
It's a good racy track. I like that track. So,
Kenny, just this is a question that was asked of me to ask you. Like, you sit back and you look at this, and I don't know if you think about it once a month, ever, or once a year, or whatever, but sitting around talking about it, I was asked to ask you this. Of course, it means something to you, but now that we're sitting here looking at it and I'm listening to all these drivers, even knowing half these drivers were part of this deal in the start, that first year you won in the championship, you're the first ever champion. You helped get this deal going. Like, do you ever sit back and just think about that and those teams that was there and drivers that was there? Like, that to me, that's something. Randy sitting here naming off all these names along with you earlier. Like, that was a pretty good group of guys there.
Yeah, it was a good group of guys, and we were just fortunate. We might not have the fastest car every night, but we finished every race. So
Yeah.
that's one thing I can say about William Todd. He was the Chad Canals of dirt racing back at that time. I mean, he just he helped me from the time I started, and he was really good on the engines and
Yeah.
finishing the race.
That's one thing we didn't say. Kenny Essary was the 1989 MLRA champion.
Yes. Yep.
And
Yep.
Ernie just
Yep.
hit on it,
Yep.
but Kenny was your champion the first year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, just look at these names. If everybody ever wants to look at the history, go on Dirt, and they have a whole section here. It's really good. I spent an hour just looking at names and racetracks, but Ken Essary wins the first one, Leslie Essary second, Bill Fry first year in late model, I think he finished third. Tommy Joe Poucher, the 10-4 car that everybody loved to see, and Daryl Mooneyham. That's some good names. But as I was looking through here, of all these winners that's on this page, I think the only racer that still races that won a race in 1989, an MLRA race, the only one that's still racing that's part-time is Billy Moyer.
Yeah.
Now, I think Wendell runs a modified here and there, but, and I was looking, a lot of these racetracks are gone now. I don't know if Crothersville, I think it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
Razorback Speedway, which was Fayetteville, Arkansas,
Yeah.
it's been gone for years now.
Yeah.
Of course, Thunderbird's back open, going good, and West Siloam's had a revamp. Nevada's doing good,
Yeah.
Ernie. West Plains said idle last year, but I look for him to be back this year.
Yeah. Stolba called a week or so ago and was talking about that.
And Monette, I guess they're back to running. North Arkansas Speedway, which was Flippin, Arkansas, was 89 the first year at Flippin. Didn't West Plains and
I
Flippin?
think it was.
Yeah. We went to Flippin in '89. Yeah.
Then, Now, like West Siloam, Randy, what didn't they operate and build about in '89? Wasn't that kind of
it's new track.
So
Well,
you guys think about it. You
Jerry
had
DeWitt.
West Plains that's been a premier place,
Yeah.
and now Arrowhead's a premier place too, and Flippin, that all was built right in that time. Your guys' timing was so awesome.
Yeah.
That it all came together there, and you get racers a name of like Terry Phillips and Bill Fry, and get all that in there, and to sit there and see what that's done. That's the timing was awesome. Is all I can say about that.
Now, was there any other series, late model series at that time going?
NCRA.
NCRA, yep.
NCRA. And they
Yep.
was out in Kansas,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Wichita, Hutchinson.
Yeah,
area.
Hall.
Hutchinson area.
But C. Ray got to what we got. I mean, I'm not bragging, but we got to doing so well. He had us come out there.
Yeah.
Good.
And we ran
Yeah, we've run
Enid,
racing there.
and 81
Yep.
Speedway and Hutchinson and Bell. Didn't we go to Belleville or
Yep.
not? Yeah, we went to Belleville. That's where you really want to turn the gears upside down.
Yep.
So
Has anybody got any more questions? These guys are probably cold out here on the end, and
One plug was as we was walking over here getting ready for this deal. I had text Al Perky, just asked a few questions, and he just wanted to put a shameless plug in there. He will be the only 7-time champion of the MLRA series.
7-time champion.
Seven time.
Well,
Yeah.
Al Perky's a good racer.
Yeah.
He's a good racer.
Yeah.
Now we're at 1989. The show must go on. Time goes on. You guys owned it for how long till it went to somebody else? You guys owned it from 1989 till when?
97. I sold it after 97.
So
I got out in about 93 or 4.
you got out in 93 and sold it
Kenneth
to him?
Right.
sold him my half, and he ran another 3 years or so.
So you running from 1993 to 1997 MLRA, and then what'd you do with it?
Sold it to Allen and
Harriet.
Cowboy and Harriet Chancellor.
Now, that's from 1997 you sold to him, and that's when you went to work there?
98's when I sold it. I mean, the year
98,
of 98
Okay, so
when they would have took over.
Yep. So, man, I was thinking 96, but it may have been 98. But yeah, that was the first year I went to work for Harriet. It's funny. She called me, and I was flagging at Nevada. She called me to work a Saturday night at South Coffeyville Speedway, and I was excited to go do that. Dirt late models is always what I wanted to do. So I went and worked this deal, and she put me in the pit area lining up race cars.
In 1998.
That was on a
Harriet's
Friday.
first year.
Yep, we had a Friday and Saturday night at South Coffeyville. Friday night after it was over, I loaded up and went home because I didn't get to watch any races.
Oh, you mad. I told you, ladies and gentlemen, he's a race fan. Super race fan. She gave him a job lining up cars. He thought that sucked, so he quits.
Yeah.
Okay.
So went home, got a call that next Monday. Where'd you go? Well, I couldn't watch the race cars on the racetrack. I loaded up and went home. So anyway, she talked me in. That was at the end of the year there. She talked me over the winter to coming back. And then the next year, I just, in between tech, I can't remember the tech guy that worked for you guys. Real tall fella.
Was it Rick Sturt? No?
Well, Ron Scroggins done it
Oh,
there.
Ron done a little bit.
Okay.
That would have been when Kenneth had it by himself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then he worked for Harriet like maybe a year or so after that. And so I was kind of
Leroy Fly probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Leroy Fly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Leroy Fly.
So I did that for about a year or so, helping him in the tech area and stuff like that. And then, which I didn't mind that because I got to look at everything. And then also between that, we're being out on the racetrack. I think the back straightaway most of the season, and Striegel was still there. Mike Striegel was still flagging, and then
Was he the first? Who was the first flagman? Dwayne Johnson, right?
Dwayne Johnson.
Yep.
Dwayne Johnson, you guys hired him, and then Striegel was the second flagman, right?
Yep. And then it went to Doug Sissom.
Doug Sissom.
And then it went to me. And then, at that era when Cowboy and Harriet had it, I flagged for them for 3 or 4 years. And then that's when the receiver stuff started coming along.
Yeah.
And then they moved me from the flag stand to the tower and calling the races over the headsets with the receiver.
What year was that? That's when technology hit.
Yeah.
Around 2000.
Yeah.
So from 89 till when?
I'm going to say 2004, if I remember right.
2004. Cowboy and Harriet owned it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you moved to race. You moved from the outhouse.
Yeah, to the in-house. Yeah.
Quick.
Yep.
So now you're controlling everything.
Yep.
So that's cool.
Yep.
So now Harriet and Cowboy owned it till what year?
2012 is when Lucas Oil bought it. The winter of 2011, Lucas Oil bought it, and our first season with Lucas Oil would have been full season 2012. Harriet and Cowboy had already set the schedule going into 2012. It was already set up. All we did is had to pick up and take off from there.
And you were race director, I guess.
I was series director at that time. Yeah, assistant series director. Dan Robinson had the series director title. And then, of course, he was at Lucas Oil Speedway handling the weekly stuff and overseeing the MLRA things. And then that title got passed on to me. I'm not a title guy. I'm just like you, Jerry.
Just
we
like
don't
me.
need a title. We just
You left-handed or right-handed?
I'm right-handed.
I'm left-handed,
There
so
you
we're
go.
not quite the same. But that's
So,
good. At least
we-
we're good old country boys. We're all good old country boys. You
Yeah.
got the elderly out here.
Yeah.
Watch it.
Well, they're the elderly. They told me
The
it's over
experienced.
70.
The
The
experienced.
experienced, the aged. I'm kind of the middle because I'm 52, and these guys are what? How old are you guys?
47.
47.
Pups.
So now what year are we at now?
So
we're going through a timeline.
2012, Lucas Oil took over the MLRA series.
MLRA, no, Harriet Cowboy sold to MLRA. Was there a stipulation or anything with you, or
No.
did you have to? You just
No.
did they-
I was doing work for Lucas Oil Speedway.
MLRA hired you because they knew what you was doing. You was doing a good job with it.
Yeah.
So that just kept you in there, and now you become. What's your title? We're going to call about your title. What were you then?
Series director.
Series
yep.
director when MLRA bought.
Yeah.
Then MLRA's run it till this year. That's why we're here. We're documenting from the
We could be
start
on those planes
to the
going
end.
to somewhere warm.
MLRA disillusionized it, I guess you want to call it. They just shut it down. They had other ideas to do, and Justin had an idea to have a race to honor these guys on the end here, Kenny and
Yes.
Randy. Totally Justin's idea. He talked to me about doing something with it. I talked to Ernie. Ernie kind of thought it was goofy, and then Ernie got thinking about it, and Ernie thought, no, it'd be a good idea. So we put it out there, and then Lucas Oil done. They just decided to close the doors on it, and we talked. All of us talked, and we decided to go ahead and do a race. So February 28th and March the 1st, 2025, we're going to do 1989 back in time. We're going to not only honor these guys for starting it, we're going to honor the whole history. Everybody that's owned it through the years. We're going to let all the past MLRA champions in for free at Springfield Raceway. We're going to take a group picture of them on Saturday. We're going to honor the flagman. We're going to have Mr. Johnson crawl up there, Dwayne Johnson crawl up and drop the first green flag on the first late model race on Saturday night. It'll be a Friday and Saturday show. 5,036 to win on Friday, 10,036 to win on Saturday. Dwayne's going to drop the first green flag. We're going to talk a little about Dwayne. We're going to have Striegel was the next one, right?
Yep.
We're going to have Striegel drop
there was another flagman in here at the time that I took it over from Randy. Tom Griffith and Sherry, his wife, she scored for me and flagged for me for a little while.
Oh.
How long did Tom flag?
Oh, probably about half of 94, 95, right along in there. And then Mike.
Is old Tom still alive?
Yeah.
We'll invite him to the race.
And
Yes.
Invite him to the race. We're going to let him in for free. We'll have old Tom drop the second green flag. Then we'll do Striegel.
Striegel.
Doug Sism.
Then we'll do Sism, and then we're going to do Ernie. And on Ernie's flag, on Ernie's race he flags, you can do it, can't you?
Yeah.
Call out there. I'm going to pay out of my pocket $1,000 to win that heat race that Ernie flags. It's just, if you're in it, you're in it. Pays $1,000 to win. Mash on it and go. Something, because Ernie has a passion for racing, not just dirt. He's a late model guy, but he's a race fan. And me and Ernie talking a lot here about the last month or so, really about the last 2-3 weeks. I realized more about Ernie and his passion for racing and for his job and for what MLRA meant to him. You know what it meant to. When did you run your first MLRA race? You remember? Think about it and chime in. But we know what it meant to these guys. You tell me whenever you remember what these guys have meant to and what it meant to Al Perky and those flagmen I've called, to his daughter, to his family. We just want to remember it, not only just for the ones that ran it, for the fans. You know, if it weren't for the race fans coming to these races, we'd be hosed. You know, we couldn't have dirt track races. So we're going to do this deal.
Sponsors,
fans and sponsors, marketing
good Henrys
partners. We
out
got
here.
Henry's back here in the back. If you break down, Henry will pull you home. Big truck. How many ton truck is that, Henry? 75-ton truck. What's that, a rotator or what? Rotator. I know a little bit. I watched that show on TV. What's it called? Cart wreckage or something where they have them big trucks.
Lizard lick towing.
No, it wasn't lizard lick. No, it's the big trucks like that. What's it called? From St. Louis. O'Hare. I watched that documentary on him, so I know a little bit of a trucking deal. How big what's it got for a transmission in it? Allison, automatic? Oh, it's not automatic? I thought everybody's automatic nowadays. Okay. I'm done talking truck talk. Thank you guys for coming out today. They're one of our sponsors here, this event. We don't have a title sponsor yet. You can message the Springfield Raceway. We got a couple people kind of talking about it, but if you want to throw some money in for the heat race winners, that we're going to time in. I've done it's Ernie's show on the late models. He's our tech man, flagman, race director, whatever. He's gonna do it all. We got Missy Miller going to help out with it. Missy Holman. I've always known her as Miller because I grew up with her. Missy Holman. She was what you call the administrative lady.
Yep.
Administrative lady for how many years?
From 2012 to present time.
Got her involved. We got the PR guy, Billy Rock. He's going to come announce it. We're going to get a hold of Kevin Stockner.
Stalker, yeah, he's a good scorer.
He's a good scorer. He can watch how he scored today.
Yeah,
how simple it is. Watch the computer, and he's a good announcer too, though.
Yeah,
we might get old Kevin to announce a race, but
Kevin was all around.
Yeah, he could do a hell run cowboy like you. But any past MLRA champion, we're letting you in for free on Friday and Saturday. We hope you guys can come, make it something neat for everybody, and we continue. We're going to continue to do this year after year, if we can, if you guys will support it. If Ernie still wants to, and these guys can still come. So that's kind of
a wheelchair.
Yeah.
We'll get you a wheelchair. We'll have you a golf cart to ride or side by side. But we're just trying to document history, man. As time goes by, 36 years, it don't seem like long, but it goes fast. And if we don't document our time, as now we got our marketing partner YouTube to put it on, the younger generation don't even know what in the hell happened. They don't know why MLRA was or what it was or who started it. So hope you guys enjoyed what we're talking about. This race will be live on our own streaming app, SpringfieldRaceway.tv. You can watch it there if you can't make it here. So you can watch it all across the world on SpringfieldRaceway.tv. And I think it's going to be a good time. We got a lot more ideas to throw in there. And I want to thank you guys for listening. You guys can get back on your TikTok and your Facebook now and finish your dinner. Hope you enjoyed what we talked about here. And be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Springfield Raceway, to watch more videos because we're going to be monetized here in the next day or two. I want to thank Kenny, Justin, Ernie, and Randy for being here. And I hope you guys enjoyed our Back in Time 1989. Appreciate everybody. I want to thank Brendan Willard Asphalt. He helped these guys get here today. I want to thank Brendan Willard. He's like Ernie. He's a racer. He's a racer and a race fan. Yep. Brennan is a race fan. And if you ever get the time out of your day to read a special story about life, you need to go to Brendan Willard's Facebook page and read a pretty special story about Brendan Willard and his life and what he done for his mother. So Want to thank everybody again. Anybody want to say anything for closing before we're done?
Yeah, thank you, Jerry, for having us and for doing this and for keeping racing on dirt alive.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank
Randy,
you,
I got
Jerry.
one thing.
Yeah.
You remember when we was in St. Louis, Missouri? We was playing poker.
Yeah.
We wasn't playing strip poker. And I think, would you drink Budweiser?
I wouldn't drink beer.
Randy used to drink a little beer. I'm not saying he was an alcoholic, but we used to go to these races. I went with Denny and Danny Felker. John
Yes.
Felker was good to me. I used to work at American Made Race Cars, and I'll never forget John Felker as long as I live. But I used to travel with Denny and Danny, and we got rained out at Peevely.
At people.
Peevely, you remember it.
Yep.
Your wife remembers it.
Yeah. She loved the card game.
She loved cards.
Yeah.
And I don't know what game we was playing, some game, and we was betting, and I didn't have much money with me, but I had this good hand because people told me I had a good hand. And me and her was all that was left in, me and his wife. We had all our clothes on, too. Not strip poker. What was it, probably 5-card stud or something?
Probably 5 or 7.
5 or 7. It wasn't that one Texas Hold'em because I don't think that was even alive then.
Nope.
But it's 5 or 7 cards. I had this great hand. Everybody told me I had a great hand. People was giving me money to bet, give me money to bet, give me money to bet. She just sat there grinning and sat there grinning and sat there grinning. I don't know if she's drinking or not, too, but I wasn't
No.
drinking because I was only like 16 or 17.
She wasn't drinking.
We got down to the end, and I lost.
Yeah, she never loses.
And
Never.
she took all my money and everybody's money that gave me money and wouldn't give me none of it back.
Yeah.
That was fun times.
She said that was a real good time. Yeah.
It was. She remembers it though.
Well, yeah, she did.
Yeah, she won like 2 or 3 or 4 or 500. I don't know how much it was, but it broke me.
She cleaned your clock
I
on
had to
that
borrow
hand.
money from John. I had to borrow money from Linda. Even give me money. Linda was even bet with me. Linda thought something was shady about it, a little MLRA favoritism or something.
Right.
But that's just a
That's
neat
funny.
story, and
Yep.
I can remember back then. And like I said, I want to thank all you guys for listening, and hope you can come to the race, Springfield Raceway, located in Springfield, Missouri, home of the Turkey Bowl. Just Google the Turkey Bowl; you'll see what it's about. But we'll see you in early February or late February, early March, and we have some rain dates. We've already looked our snow or ice dates. If the weather's bad, we've got a couple dates we're going to put out to be able to have it on. We've looked at other people's schedules. We don't want to schedule on top of nobody. So till then, appreciate everybody.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.